Welcome to the next section of Visual Studio Code and Docker training. This section is going to be exciting because we actually start getting hands-on in the lab and we're going to install Visual Studio Code and the Docker extension. So let's get started and take a look at what we need to accomplish here. Now the lab is in GitHub. You can go to github.com/thebyte.io and the repo is vs-code-docker-training. Now this will also be in the notes in this section down below, so you can go check it out and grab the link there as well. Now let's head over to my repo here. Let's head over to the repo and you can see here's GitHub and I just logged in as a normal user. Here's the repo VS Code Docker training. And here's the entire course is actually in GitHub. So you can see all the labs, all the material is here. And we're going to number 3, which is install and configure Visual Studio Code. Now, what we're going to do here is the first step, we're going to install Visual Studio Code. So code, Visual Studio Code /download is where we want to go first. And again, this is in the notes. You can follow along. Now we're going to choose the operating system that we're running on our machine that we're going to be running Visual Studio Code. In my case, I'm running Mac. Go ahead and download. Yes, I want to allow. Then this goes into my download folder. And I have successfully downloaded here, I think. Now, once I've downloaded Visual Studio Code, head over to the downloads, double click the Visual Studio Code application, and then it starts up for the first time. And then you see, okay, here's my welcome screen. And if you start Visual Code for the first time, it'll give you a different welcome screen, actually like congratulating you and welcome you. Great job, you're here. But I've installed a few times, so I have quite some history here with the extension. And once we have this here, we can actually install the Docker extension. So that's the next step. So once we have Visual Studio Code running, we can actually start installing extensions. Now go ahead and open the extension, the marketplace, which again, it looks like this container icon here. Go ahead and click, and we are going to search extensions. We're going to search for Docker, and it will be the first extension. And also the green icon here means it's an official extension provided by Microsoft. We have 5.6 million downloads now. You can actually click on the extension and it gives you a bit more information, what versions are running, etc. And then there's a green button, install or install, whichever one you're more comfortable with. Go ahead and click install. And then you can see the icon is now available here. All right, we've successfully installed the Docker extension and you can see it is now installed. The extension is enabled globally and it gives you just a couple details here. And you'll also see the icon pops up on the left-hand side, this Docker icon. Go ahead and click it. And now we can refresh and we should be able to see, okay, here's my cat application. It is running. I can right click on this and I can view the logs, for example. And you can see what it does when I right click view logs. It executes the command inside the terminal. And you can see now I'm running inside the container here, which is quite cool, right? I didn't have to do anything. Control C to get out of it. I can also inspect the container, and what it's doing, it's actually, when I right click and do one of these commands, it's grabbing the container ID and then populating it into the command. You can see here is the inspect command. So this is inspecting the container. I can also go and like attach to the shell. And if you've ever tried to do this yourself, usually type docker exec -it, then you have to hunt around for this ID, then the shell, whatever shell it's using. And now with Visual Studio Code and Docker extension, right click, attach a shell, and boom, I'm there inside of it. So I'm actually inside the container now, just by that right click. I can also inspect it, open our browser. So for example, if it was actually publishing a port, I can do it that way. And I can stop it right here. So go ahead and stop. Oh, there we go. So I'm stopping my container. Refresh a couple times, it should stop. Now this is a special container because it's running in Swarm, so I don't know if it'll work right. Yeah, so, oh yeah, it did stop. So there you go. So right click and stop, it works, but it starts right back up again because I have it set up with if it fails, it should start up again. You can also see images. If I click on an image, here's Elasticsearch, latest. I can go in here and actually click on the image and I can run it. So I can say, hey, that's a cool image. I actually want to run it right here. And you can just go Docker run, and then it grabs all the parameters and it runs this for me as well. See, it starts it right up here. Og search, Elasticsearch. It's running. Cool. Don't want it running, so let's stop it. And we can actually remove it as well. So that one stopped. I can inspect it. You have to click on the tag, so not the image itself, but when you go here, you can see the tag of the image, right click, inspect, pull, push, tag, copy, remove. Actually, you know what? I don't need this image anymore. Let's just remove. So that's quite really handy to have all this functionality right here. You can see I'm also connected to the Docker Hub. I can connect to my Docker Hub account and see all the registries that I have connected. I have a couple different accounts connected. So it just grabs the information there and you can see all the repos I have connected to my account. Now context I switched over because we're going to cover that later, but this allows me to connect to different Docker servers, directly from here. So I can just click on one and connect into it. We'll cover that in a later section. So images, registries, networks. So in Docker, you can create virtual networks. You can also take a look at the network, inspect it. You can do everything right here. Quite cool. Volumes, you could do volume management. You could do everything right through the command line. Very, very cool. Again, that's the user interface. If I do the command again, so Command Shift P, that brings me to the command palette, and I just type Docker. Now, since we installed the Docker extension, all these commands are now available within the Docker palette. So I can do, for example, let's do Docker container stop. Then it asks me, okay, what container do you want to stop? And it shows me which container is actually running. So go click, okay, and now it stops that container. So it's very powerful what we can do here. And you can see we can start really enabling things further along once we had the Docker extension there. So now everything's going to build upon this and we'll start configuring, we'll start bringing the extension to the next level. So join me as we head into the next section as we really start unlocking the power user mode and understand really how to take advantage of the Docker extension in the next section where we explore how to bootstrap, write Docker files, start really improving your workflow. So join me in the power user section.